On the afternoon of March 24, 2015, a 30-year-old man named Aaron Quinn told police that his girlfriend, Denise Huskins, had been abducted from their bedroom the night before. Authorities arrived promptly and went directly to the apartment where it allegedly happened. Once inside, officers were met with a confusing scene. A window screen near the back door had been cut open, and the door's lock showed signs of interference, indicating a possible break-in. The second-floor bedroom was in total disarray with blankets and sheets strewn messily across the bed. On the floor, investigators found odd items, including swim goggles taped shut, and an empty bottle of cough syrup. Most striking, however, was a square area on the bedroom floor marked with red tape, inside which a chair had been placed, apparently set up to face something. Strangely, a camera had been positioned directly in front of the chair, but it was unplugged and not connected to the internet, seemingly serving no purpose beyond appearance. Investigators found no fingerprints, DNA, or evidence of a struggle at the scene. Neighbors later told police they had not heard any screams or disturbances that night, deepening the mystery. Aaron's account only made the situation more bizarre. He said he woke suddenly in the middle of the night to the beam of a flashlight. Disoriented, he saw a red dot moving across his chest, which instantly made him think of a firearm's laser sight and filled him with fear. His first instinct was to protect Denise. But before he could react, a masked man aimed a gun at his head and ordered him to restrain his girlfriend's hands and feet with zip ties supplied by the intruder. After Aaron followed the instructions, the intruder restrained him as well. The man then placed swim goggles over their eyes, taping them shut so they could not see. Aaron said they were forced to give up their bank cards, PIN numbers, social security numbers, and their phones. The kidnapper used the phones to message their employers, saying they were sick and would not be coming to work. The situation grew even more disturbing when the intruder forced both Aaron and Denise to drink an entire bottle of medication believed to be the cough syrup later found at the apartment. The drug's sedative effects soon caused them to lose consciousness. Aaron stated that after blacking out, he was moved into a chair positioned inside the red tape square, and when he later woke up, the goggles had been taken off. The intruder warned Aaron not to step outside the tape square, threatening that Denise's life would be in immediate danger if he did, gesturing toward the unplugged camera. The kidnapper claimed it was watching his every move, using it to further intimidate him. He then put headphones on Aaron and played calming music, a disturbing contrast to the danger of the moment. After delivering his final warnings, the kidnapper led Denise downstairs and disappeared. Still groggy from the drugs, Aaron stayed inside the square for several hours before eventually falling asleep from exhaustion. It was not until the next afternoon that he woke up, freed himself from the zip ties, and finally contacted the police. The officers who questioned Aaron were perplexed by his strange account of the abduction. The details seemed illogical, leading them to doubt the credibility of his story. The idea of drawing a square on the floor and forcing him to remain inside it felt theatrical, as if the kidnapper had been inspired by old Western films and imagined Aaron was someone significant. Especially since he had stayed there for more than 10 hours without moving. Investigators remained doubtful, with the main issue being motive. Why would a kidnapper go to such extreme measures? As Aaron tried to convince them his story was true, a message suddenly came through on his phone. It was from the kidnapper demanding a ransom. "See, I'm not lying," Aaron insisted. Yet, the amount $11,200. Zero seemed strangely specific. Regardless of the amount, officers found it odd that the kidnapper asked for such a precise sum. This raised suspicions that Aaron might somehow be involved, perhaps having harmed his girlfriend, and then staged the situation to shift blame. Aaron firmly denied any involvement, maintaining that he had nothing to do with her disappearance. "How could I have sent a message to myself right in front of you?" he argued. However, the seasoned detectives were unconvinced, aware that texts could be scheduled in advance. The questioning went on for hours. Aaron was subjected to a lie detector test, repeatedly interrogated, and attorneys were consulted. Yet, the investigation produced no definitive answers. At the same time, another strange development occurred. A local newspaper received a voicemail from a woman claiming to be Denise, the missing girlfriend. She said she had been kidnapped but was still alive, offering personal details to prove her identity, including her favorite band from her first concert and the name of her high school boyfriend. Despite the content, her voice sounded calm and controlled, as though she were describing someone else's ordeal rather than her own. This composure only deepened police suspicion as they questioned how someone allegedly being held captive could remain so steady. Investigators then began speaking with co-workers and friends of the couple. What they discovered was troubling. Aaron and Denise were both physical therapists at the same local hospital. And more surprisingly, Aaron's ex-fiancée Andrea also worked there. Aaron and Andrea had once been engaged and planning to marry, but the relationship ended after Andrea cheated on him. Even after their breakup, Aaron and Andrea continued working together and saw each other often. Despite being in a relationship with Denise, it appeared that Aaron had not fully severed ties with his former fiancée. Adding to the confusion, Aaron remembered that during the kidnapping, the masked man repeatedly asked for names and at one point even referred to him as Andrea. This raised the possibility that the kidnapper may have intended to target Aaron's ex-fiancée, but mistakenly abducted the wrong person. Even with this new detail, police remained convinced there was no genuine kidnapping, but rather a love triangle that had spiraled out of control. Investigators theorized that one or more individuals may have staged the entire incident to remove a romantic rival or inject drama into their lives. Although official searches continued, including the use of search dogs and the distribution of flyers, suspicion increasingly centered on Aaron. Aaron continued to stand by his account and maintained his innocence. But after hours of interrogation, officers began to grow impatient. By law, they could detain him for up to 48 hours without filing charges, so they chose to wait. Although he was not dressed in a prison uniform, Aaron was given limited food and water and kept in a small holding cell under constant scrutiny. Then came unexpected news. Denise had been found alive. Reports revealed she was discovered in Huntington Beach, more than 400 m from where the kidnapping was reported. While this might have seemed fortunate, her sudden reappearance only heightened suspicion toward Aaron. In most cases, kidnappers abandon victims in isolated locations to delay discovery, not in populated areas where help could be reached quickly. In this unusual case, the kidnapper had inexplicably dropped Denise off in an alley close to her parents' house. When police located her, her wallet, cash, and credit cards were completely untouched, directly contradicting Aaron's claim that the abduction had been financially motivated. Even more puzzling, no ransom had ever been demanded or paid, leaving investigators to wonder why the kidnapper had released her at all. Denise told authorities that after being taken, her eyes were covered, and she was brought to a small, quiet house with windows entirely blocked by cardboard, creating a claustrophobic and eerie environment. She recounted that the kidnapper, dressed in a black hoodie, had assaulted her while inside the house. They remained there for nearly 2 days before the kidnapper instructed her to drink cough syrup, placed the taped-up goggles over her eyes again, and transported her somewhere while she was groggy and disoriented from both fear and the sedative effects of the medicine. Denise could not estimate how long they had been driving. But at one point, the kidnapper told her to count to 20 and then open her eyes. When she did, she found herself near her parents' home, seemingly dropped off as abruptly as she had been taken. The police found Denise's account even harder to believe than Aaron's. They required her to undergo a thorough medical examination, focusing especially on evidence of the alleged assault. Surprisingly, the exam revealed no physical injuries, and there were no traces of male DNA found on or inside her. Denise tried to explain this anomaly by suggesting that during the assault, the kidnapper's genitalia had felt unusual, as if they weren't real. Possibly some kind of toy, which added an even stranger dimension to the case. This detail led investigators to question whether the kidnapper had been a man at all. As doubts grew, the police began to consider the possibility that Denise might have left home voluntarily and fabricated the entire story to avoid the consequences of her actions. The situation seemed almost absurd. A kidnapping with no motive, no ransom, and no real harm done, in which the kidnapper held her for 2 days without any apparent goal. Almost as if they were playing the role of a bizarre modern-day Good Samaritan. Denise refused to take the lie detector test that police insisted on administering. She erupted in anger, exclaiming, "I'm the victim here. Why are you harassing me instead of finding my kidnapper?" Her emotional outburst only heightened the officer's suspicions. After all, why would a supposed victim resist cooperating with an investigation unless there was something to conceal? Soon after, the police held a press conference. The chief, visibly frustrated, told reporters that the entire case appeared to be a hoax. He accused the couple of squandering police resources and orchestrating an elaborate fake kidnapping for attention. Both Aaron and Denise were formally charged with fraud and misuse of public resources. Overnight, the once respected therapists were transformed into notorious figures. Their careers suspended and reputations severely damaged. The local community turned against them with many drawing comparisons between their story and the plot of a sensational blockbuster movie, further cementing their fall from grace. But the story didn't end there. 8 days after Aaron and Denise were formally charged, a small-town newspaper received a mysterious email. The sender claimed to be the real kidnapper, ridiculing the police for being so easily deceived and warning that they intended to continue targeting others. Attached to the message were 2 photographs, one depicting a toy gun with a laser pointer taped to it and another showing a corner of a room where the windows were completely covered with cardboard. These details were striking because they had never been released to the public and were known only to the victims and the investigators who had handled the case, many of whom had years of experience in law enforcement and journalism. The newspaper editor noted that the email was written in an unusually precise legal style, far more meticulous than what would be expected from an ordinary person or even from 2 medical professionals like Aaron and Denise. Despite the compelling nature of the evidence, the police refused to confirm or acknowledge the email's authenticity. Suspecting the email might be a distraction orchestrated by the couple, authorities argued that since Aaron and Denise had legal representation, it wasn't impossible for someone to draft the message on their behalf. 3 months went by and the tangled legal proceedings over the alleged fake kidnapping and the confirmed fraud charges continued to drag on. Then, less than 80 miles from the location where Denise had supposedly been abducted, police were called to a home invasion and attempted kidnapping. When officers arrived to investigate, they encountered something chillingly familiar. Swimming goggles sealed shut with duct tape. Given the high-profile nature of the earlier case, detectives initially suspected a copycat, someone imitating the previous method to blindfold the victims. However, as they spoke with the families of the new victims, they were stunned to uncover striking parallels between the 2 incidents, suggesting a far more deliberate and sinister pattern than anyone had anticipated. This time, the victims were a family of 3. The parents in one room and their 14-year-old daughter in the next bedroom. In the middle of the night, the father was awakened by the glare of a flashlight, just like in the previous case, and noticed a red laser dot moving across his chest. A tall man wearing a black hoodie aimed a gun at the father's head and demanded that he restrain his wife's hands and feet using zip ties. Every detail seemed to mirror the earlier incident. Yet, There was one crucial difference. The father refused to comply. Instead, he fought back with determination, grabbing a bedside lamp and striking the intruder in an attempt to defend his family. The mother quickly took cover in the bathroom while the father shouted for her to grab a gun. Even though there was no firearm in the house and neither parent had any experience using one, this chaotic response marked a stark departure from the previous case where the victims had been forced into compliance. The bluff worked, frightening the intruder into fleeing the house. The father chased him outside, catching a glimpse of the man driving away in a white car. It was only then that the parents discovered their daughter had been restrained in her room, her hands and feet bound and her eyes covered. It appeared that the intruder's plan had been to subdue the parents first and then abduct the child. Fortunately, the parents' quick thinking and bravery prevented what could have become a tragic outcome. While no photos of the family were ever released, reports indicated that the father was of Asian descent, inferred from the intruder's hasty retreat. Unlike the earlier kidnapping case, this crime scene had not been meticulously cleaned. Police recovered the attacker's DNA from the bedside lamp and discovered a suspicious Samsung phone near the doorway, providing the first concrete evidence that could potentially identify the perpetrator. The phone was registered to a 38-year-old man from California named Matthew Mueller. Police were able to recover deleted text messages and photos from the device, including the $12,000 ransom demands sent to Denise's boyfriend using location data linked to when the ransom message had been sent. Investigators traced Mueller to a vacation cabin he owned. Upon arrival, they noticed a white car parked outside, matching the description given by the Asian father in the second case. Without hesitation, officers entered the property and found Matthew sitting calmly in the living room with his hands raised, saying, "You finally found me." He offered no resistance and fully cooperated during his arrest. Inside the cabin, police discovered a room with windows sealed by cardboard, exactly matching both the photos from the mysterious email and Denise's earlier description. They also recovered a replica gun, duct-taped swimming goggles, zip ties, and a bottle of cough syrup mixed with sedatives, all found in Matthew's car, directly linking him to the previous incidents. Investigators uncovered a crucial piece of evidence. A strand of blonde hair tangled in one of the zip ties. And whose hair was it? None other than Denise's. Even more damning, the data from Matthew's car confirmed that he had been near Denise's apartment on the night of March 24 and near her parents' home 2 days later, perfectly coinciding with the timing of her abduction and release. All the evidence now strongly indicated that Denise and her boyfriend had been telling the truth from the very beginning. Yet, when police showed Matthew's photo to the couple for identification, they both insisted they had never seen him before and displayed no hostility toward him. They were left utterly confused, struggling to understand how they had become entangled in such a bizarre and terrifying ordeal. The pressing question remained, Why had Matthew committed such shocking and calculated acts? The answer seemed to lie in his background. Police investigations revealed that Matthew came from a wealthy family. His father owned a large accounting firm in California, ensuring that Matthew had enjoyed financial security from a young age. Despite this privilege, he did not squander his inheritance. After finishing high school, he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps, where he trained and worked as a mechanic. During his military service, his superiors praised him for his intelligence, precision, and strong work ethic. After leaving the Marines, Matthew was admitted to Harvard Law School, where he graduated with honors and became a licensed attorney. This background helped explain why the extortion email sent to the newspaper had been written in such a precise and legally sophisticated manner. However, in 2012, a female intern at the law firm where Matthew was employed accused him of sexual harassment. A serious allegation that hinted at a darker, more controlling side beneath his accomplished exterior. The case lingered for over a year before Matthew opted to settle privately, paying the intern a substantial sum. However, during the legal proceedings, her testimony was leaked, revealing that Matthew harbored deviant desires, but lacked the physical means to act on them without tools to facilitate harassment. This revelation shattered his professional and personal reputation. His wife of 2 years used the opportunity to divorce him, leaving him socially and emotionally isolated. Following the scandal, Matthew left the law firm and allowed his license to lapse, effectively ending his legal career. He later attempted a career in sales, but was soon dismissed for poor performance. The shadow of the harassment lawsuit loomed over him, derailing his life and ambitions. Although he could have lived comfortably without working, Matthew's resentment grew. He blamed the intern for destroying his career. That anger, initially aimed at his ex-wife, soon expanded to a broader, more dangerous fixation on women in general. Matthew came to see the world as unfairly tilted in favor of women, believing that both the legal system and public opinion consistently sided against men. This perceived injustice fanned his desire for revenge, driving him to prove that common assumptions about power and vulnerability could be wrong. Over the previous 2 years, more than 30 home invasions had been reported across the San Francisco Bay Area. Yet, almost all the women who reported these crimes were dismissed as mentally unstable, their claims ignored or ridiculed. Only 2 cases were ever formally filed, quickly buried among countless other complaints. Over time, Matthew's urge for humiliation evolved. Targeting women alone no longer satisfied him. He derived even greater pleasure from embarrassing men in front of their partners. Not merely causing harm, but aiming to utterly ruin them. It's likely that without the courageous resistance of the Asian family who fought back, Matthew's twisted schemes would have escalated even further. His arrest ultimately brought a halt to a reign of terror that could have grown far more destructive. Matthew's wealthy parents spared no expense in trying to protect Him, hiring top defense attorneys and even a renowned psychologist to argue that he suffered from severe mental health issues, possibly even a split personality. Yet, despite all these efforts, Matthew made an unexpected choice. He decided to plead guilty to all charges. In his own mind, he had accomplished his goal. He had shattered public trust in the police, the judicial system, and even in women, leaving a trail of fear and confusion. Matthew was sentenced to 40 years in prison for multiple offenses. As for Denise and her boyfriend, the fraud charges against them were formally dropped just 2 days after his arrest. The city's police department issued a public apology and the full details of the case were finally released, clearing the couple's names and resolving the long-standing mystery surrounding the bizarre and harrowing events. It turned out that the entire narrative about a love triangle had been nothing more than media speculation. In 2018, after a lengthy civil lawsuit, the couple and the police department reached a settlement, receiving $2.5 million in damages for the emotional and reputational harm caused by the police's mishandling of the case. After enduring so much turmoil, the couple found a measure of happiness, marrying in September 2018. A year later, they welcomed their first daughter, followed by a second daughter in 2022. Today, the family of 4 lives a peaceful life in a small town, having finally moved beyond the dark and harrowing chapter that once defined their lives. If you found this case fascinating, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We post crime case videos every night. Until next time, stay sharp, stay vigilant.